And above all else, stop defining your business based on the products you sell or how you sell them. Define your business based on the people you serve. If you will do that, you'll give yourself some flexibility. They didn't want this, that's okay, because it's not about the thing, it's about the them. You don't need a bunch of money to get started. You don't really even need a product to get started. You again, we talked about it, you don't need a brand.
Ryan, I am so excited to have you on the show. When I knew I had the opportunity to talk to you about your new book, Get Scalable, which is fantastic, I thought, well, I'm not only going to talk to him about scaling companies and this new system he's created, I'm going to ask him everything. Everything I've always wanted to ask you. This is basically free consulting. You didn't know you were doing it. Are you okay with that?
Love it. I'm excited about it. Let's
Okay.
do it.
One of the first things I want to talk to you about is the mindset that puts new business owners into self sabotage. You've been around longer than I've been around in this industry. You've seen it all. You've helped so many um, founders and I'll call them almost founders through the years. For the people who are almost founders and they self sabotage, or they get there and they self sabotage, what's going on in people's brains?
So for the people, I think, so sabotage happens at a couple different points. There are many people who self-sabotage before they even get started. Because at the end of the day, they like the idea of being an entrepreneur and they like the idea of starting a business. They don't necessarily want the reality of it. So they want to tell people about what they're going to do. And they're very happy to organize their file drawers and to spend a lot of money on logos. But when it comes time to actually do business, that's when they're like, oh, I don't want to do it. And so they will actually sabotage themselves and come up with reasons to never start. And I think a lot of this comes from fear of failure. As long as it just stays a dream, then the dream is always there. But if I try it and I fail, then the dream is gone, which isn't true, by the way. I mean, you can start a company, it can fail. That doesn't make you a failure. You just do another one.
Yeah.
I've done that before, but they will self-sabotage there. I also think some people will self-sabotage because they're just afraid to get out there and see if anybody wants their thing. And so ultimately what I tell people is don't worry about your logo. Don't worry about all this. Just go sell somebody something.
Yeah.
Go sell 10 people something. 10. And when you got 10, like try to see if you got 10 of them that are generally happy that they did business with you to the point where they'll let you use their name when talking to other people. Congratulations, you got a business, you're through the starting gates. So people, they self-sabotage before. I see people then self-sabotage once they have a degree of success, because they're afraid that, oh, if this company gets too big, then I can't run it. I don't have what it takes if it gets to be bigger than me. And I've just seen time and time again that that isn't true. But the beautiful thing about business is you have the opportunity to self-sabotage at multiple points along the way.
You're so right. That is a great clip from the show right there, because that is so true about business. I'm always disappointing people when I work with them to go, hey, I know you really want to spend $5,000 on a branding package and a logo and business cards, but please don't. Let's make sure the idea works. Let's go sell something. Let's go see if people are open to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And let your customers buy those things for you. I mean, I think people, they don't realize that should be funded through the sale of the actual work that you're doing. Unless you're a graphic designer, you're not in the business of producing logos and business cards. You're in the business of delivering some kind of value. So get out there and deliver that value. And again, we self-sabotage because we think, I've been working on this idea. Maybe it's a product that you've been working on. And you're thinking about, everything from I got this product I've been doing, I'm thinking about selling it on Etsy, to I've got this idea, I've been out in the industry for a while, and I'm thinking maybe I want to go off on my own. I've been doing a great job for employers, and I'm ready to go off on my own and start my own, put out my own shingle, so to speak. But what if nobody wants it? What people don't realize is that that's just ego, right? If you'll say, what if at the end of the day, none of this, I don't matter at all? Like, what if this has nothing to do with me, right? And 100% of your focus goes on just serving the people that you think you could serve. If they don't want it, reframe that as saying, okay, I figured out that they don't want this, but I'm still committed to serving them. So I'm going to figure out what needs to be true for them to be excited for me to better serve them. Okay, you don't want this. What do you want? Okay, we did this together. It didn't get you quite the results. What needed to be true for it to get the results? I want to go back and do it again. If you make it a process of discovery and a process of service, and you humble yourself to that, then you can find that this doesn't have to be this massive, fear ego thing. Just adopt the position of service on here, and above all else, stop defining your business based on the products you sell or how you sell them. Define your business based on the people you serve. If you will
So
do
good.
that, you'll give yourself some flexibility. They didn't want this, that's okay, because it's not about the thing, it's about the them. The
Exactly.
thing can
So
go away.
good.
I'm about them.
I think also people are really afraid of failure, like you talked about. And when we disconnect our worth as people from what we're trying to do, that's the game changer. I mean, I would imagine if we stacked up our ideas that were quote unquote failures together, we could probably have 100. People just don't
Oh,
know about the things that don't work.
for sure. And I get it. I was fortunate. I started my first business from my college dorm room in 1999. I was a freshman. I was broke. But you know what? I was supposed to be broke. I was a college kid.
Yeah.
If you were rich, you pretended like you were poor so you could fit in. So, like, failure wasn't that scary because what did I have to lose? Nothing. My very first product was selling an ebook on how to make your own baby food that I licensed from a lactation consultant who gave me the ebook because she couldn't afford to pay me for the website that I'd helped to build.
Okay,
That was
as a
my first
college
thing.
freshman, that was
Yeah, it was
it?
awkward. It was super awkward to be designing a website for a lactation consultant. Now with 4 kids, by the way, love these women. My wife nursed all of our kids, and I think that it's amazing. But at 19 years old, it was a little bit awkward.
Wow.
But yeah, I'll tell you the story about this woman because she was
Okay.
amazing. She had her own business doing lactation consulting, as I said. Um, but she said again, very smart. She's like, I'm not going to define my business by what I do, which is lactation consulting, for a couple of reasons. Not the least of which is once babies wean, moms don't need me anymore, which means I'm not getting paid.
Hmm.
So I want to serve mom. And while mom is nursing, I can serve mom. But when baby weans, currently I'm not. So I want to think about just early childhood nutrition as a whole. And she began to expand her business because she was thinking customer centric, not product or service centric. Now, unfortunately, for her, this was 1999. The economy took a significant dip for those who don't remember. And 1999 going into 2000, we had a bit of a recession. Her husband lost his job. She had to go back to work, had to close down her business for a while. That was when she couldn't pay me for the site that I had built. And so instead, she paid me for this ebook that she wrote on how to make your own baby food that was going to be a part of this expansion. Phenomenal gift to me because it was the first product that I ever sold.
Yeah.
But the lesson that I got from her was even more valuable than the book that she paid me in, which was just what I said: don't define your business by the products or services that you sell or the way that you sell them. Define them by the people you serve. She understood that. I wish I could find her. I tried to look her up and see what she's up to because I owe her a big thank you for getting me started in business. My first unintentional mentor, but it's just that's what more people need to be doing.
Yeah, I love it. And it's a great illustration of not despising small beginnings because there you are, a broke college freshman trying to make some money making a website, and you get paid in a lactation consultant's ebook. I love it.
Yeah.
Talk to us really quickly about the 3 myths about starting a small business. What are those?
I mean, I think the myths of starting a small business. I mean, there there are way more than three, but just some ones that come to mind. You've got number one, that you need money to get started.
Yep.
No, you don't. You need customers, and customers don't have to cost anything. Number two, that you need a product to get started. No, you don't. You need to go out there, talk to people, figure out, do the work of figuring out what they need ahead of time, but then be open to them telling you it's something different. A
Right.
lot of times when people think of market research, it's let's just go around and ask everybody in the market what they want. The reality is they don't know. If they did, they would already get it, or somebody else would have already given it to them.
Yep.
So do the hard work of finding out what is it that they want, and then offer it to them. If you offer them something, they'll either say yes or they'll say no. If they say yes, congratulations, you just made some money. If they say no, you could say, thank you for that feedback, because that's really what no is, by the way. No is not a rejection. No is feedback that the current offering is not exactly what they want. What would need to be true? What do you need? What would be a better fit? So you don't need a bunch of money to get started. You don't really even need a product to get started. You again, we talked about it, you don't need a brand to get
Oh,
started.
yeah. You definitely don't need a
You don't
brand.
need a logo. You don't need every business that I ever started was just, some words that I did my best to make inside of PowerPoint, took a screenshot, put it. It was awful, and it was awful
Same.
for a long time,
Hmm.
and then it got better. But that's not the reason that people don't buy logos. That's just not what they're buying.
Exactly. They need help for their problems. It's so good. I can amen that all day long. Let's talk about this is going back to picking your brain on lots of random things. Let's talk about trends you see right now. What do you see happening? I feel like for the past 15 years, we had constant change. Web 2.0, Web 3.0 is kind of shifting, and we don't know what's happening there. AI, which really just, as we know it, came on the scene, what, end of November 22? What do you see in terms of what's working, what the opportunities are? Kind of put on a magic hat and look into a crystal ball and tell me what Ryan's thinking of right now.
So I'm going to answer your question, but I
Okay.
would like to reframe it first.
Oh, I like it.
Jeff Bezos, was giving this talk, and he was saying, he's like, everybody asks me what's changing, and he's like, and that's always an interesting question. But I think a more interesting question is what hasn't changed and what will never change. And that's when he talked about how at Amazon we realized that at no point will people decide that they want to pay more for something. They would always rather pay
Hmm.
less. They also would never they never will ask, hey, can you ship that product to me a little bit more slowly? Can you make the returns a little more difficult? I think so. Sometimes we're so focused on the new that we fail at the basics, and the basics, the fundamentals, the stuff that doesn't change. That's actually where you can win, especially in a fast-changing world where everybody is focused on the new. They're neglecting the stuff that matters. Jeff
True.
Bezos built one of the most valuable companies in the world by simply acknowledging that people are kind of always going to want a good selection at a low price and have it shipped quickly. What if we just crush it at that? I've said that when I retire, we've got a house on the Texas coast. When I retire, which will be never, by the way, because why? If you're
Why?
an
I
entrepreneur,
know.
you're never
Yeah.
done. Like, what are you going to
No.
retire? But let's say hypothetically, I retire and I'm living out on the beach. I would then start a business, a home services company that would just be called, the brand would be Will Actually Show Up. So I'm going to have will actually show up electrical, will actually show up plumbing, will actually show up HVAC, because at at the beach, like in the area that we live in, Port Aransas, Texas, you just can't get anybody to show up. They won't even show up. And our thing will be, we're not the cheapest. We're not really even the best. Other people, but you know, we'll show up. And I think it would work. I say it only half jokingly. I think it would work because the bar is set so low. And in
Yeah.
all of your markets, the bar is set so low. And I would just say, if you will talk to people, you will find that what they want, you're like, that's it? You'll just be shocked. So I wanted to make sure that that was said. Now, that
No,
being
it's
said, there's
great.
still some pretty
Yeah.
cool new stuff going on here that I think
Yeah.
is important, that's worth focusing on. The first, I'm seeing a big shift towards productized services.
Mm.
So instead of selling an open-ended service like graphic design or web design or coaching, you know, if you can take this service and you can condense it into a singular deliverable for a fixed period of time. So one specific market delivering one specific thing over a fixed period of time. I'll give you a quick example. At the Scalable company, we had business coaching and
Hmm.
consulting. So you come in here and we're going to coach you and help you scale from 7 to 8 figures, right? That's kind of, and get you ready for exit if you want to exit. So, I mean, it's a pretty high end offering. And
Yeah.
we have a mastermind where you can show up in a room full of other smart people. Nobody bought it. Now, pre like 2023, when we're in a zero interest rate environment, the government's printing money like it's going out of style, guess what? Everybody's buying that. Because everybody's
Yeah.
sitting on a whole lot of cash
Yep.
and they're thinking to themselves, come into a room full of smart people, you're going to tell me some stuff to do. I don't know what it is yet, but it sounds good. I'm in. Sign me up. Everybody was buying it. Then everybody stopped buying it. Because when you see the economy start to tighten up a little bit, when consumer demand starts to tighten up, when inflation goes up, people just get a little bit tighter with their investment. It's not that they stop spending, it's just that they want to know what's the ROI.
Right. Right.
And the thing is, I believe that we're seeing the economy coming back. It just seems to be happening. I'm not a macroeconomist, but
Yeah.
it's there. I'm optimistic.
Agreed.
I also know that consumer demand and consumer what consumers are thinking, it always lags. So the economy was in the toilet and everybody else is still spending like there's no tomorrow. And at this point, everything's kind of fine and people are still scared. So it
Yeah,
always
exactly.
lags. So we got to do that. So what is working really well? We basically took what was the thing that we would really do in the first 90 days for somebody to get them that win. We splintered that out. We sold it separately. Now conversion rates double. And you know what we offer everybody as soon as they go through that productized service? Hey, do you want ongoing coaching? Do you want mastermind?
Yeah.
So taking what was the big thing, splintering it out to a specific result. Right now, what everybody is buying is a specific, measurable end result. Don't make me guess what it's going to be. Don't make me interpret, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Just tell me exactly what it's going to be. That's the first thing we're seeing. AI is obviously a biggie. But what we're seeing that going back to kind of the productized services, AI enabled things. So don't necessarily try to teach everybody how to do AI. They don't want to learn.
No.
You learn how to do it, to do the thing, to accelerate what you do, to increase your own capacity. So I think AI enabled services are going to be far more impactful than going out there and trying to start an AI business. Just do what you're already doing faster, better, and maybe even for less money, although I'd drop your prices. It's the last kind of resort.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
But do an amazing service. Yeah, keep your prices high. But do an amazing service because you're powered by AI.
Okay.
The other thing that we're seeing, I'll give you the third kind of trend. Human to human is back, better than ever. We are now across all of our companies removing a lot of the AI bots from things that are having the initial conversations, and we're having real human beings have real conversations with real people. And it's not scalable, and it's technically more expensive, and it works about 20 times better.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're seeing. And I think if you're a solo, if you're brand new, you can win in a lot of cases because you'll actually answer the phone and you'll actually respond to that email, and you're actually you and they're actually a robot. So I just think those are the big things that we're seeing.
Yeah, I agree with all those points, especially human to human. In my companies and my work, we don't use any automation in that sense whatsoever. And you're right, it doesn't scale, but sometimes the things that don't scale are the big drivers of growth. Whether it's you or someone on the team, having a human there and not a stupid chatbot.
Yep.
I think everyone can agree with that. Okay, talk to me about the founder's curse.
The founder's curse states that the more valuable you are to your business, the less valuable your business is. And this was one of the hardest things for me to realize.
Yeah.
And for most entrepreneurs, it's one of the hardest to accept. But if you think about it, it's true. If your business is only ever as scalable as you, well, you only have 24 hours in a day, and you're probably going to want to sleep some of it. I'm sure there's people around you who would like to hang out with you from time to time. That business is going to be very finite. It's going to be limited. And I mean, in reality, you're not a business owner, you're self-employed. And I don't mean that to disparage, but most of the entrepreneurs that I know, they start businesses because they want freedom. But if you start a business and you're the only one there, you're the bottleneck for absolutely everything, then what you're doing is you're just simply systematically building a wall around you. It's the opposite of freedom. And that's why most of the entrepreneurs I know work longer hours, are more stressed out than way more of the people that I know. I mean,
It's true.
I've experienced this. Like you probably, if you got team members, it's like, oh, they actually get to go home on Friday. Like not think about work. We don't have that. And to a certain extent, it's what we love. But with the entrepreneur's curse, it's fine in the beginning if it's just you, because you're all you got. Yeah. So in those early days, that's awesome. You're all you need. But you're the person who's creating the product, fulfilling the product or service. You're the one who's doing the marketing, who's doing the sales, chief cook and bottle washer, unclogging the toilets, like whatever needs to get done, you're doing it all because you're all you got. But that habit, like we build up that scar tissue, and worse yet, we build up that identity that I can do it better than anybody else can do it, that identity that no one else can do it quite like me. And that, while that is critical in the early days to drive us forward, it's the very thing at scale that's going to hold us back. So a lot of the conversations that I have with entrepreneurs, as they're approaching $500,000 in revenue, certainly $1 million, $2 million in revenue, and they're watching their businesses start to flatline, and they're tired, overworked, frustrated, burnt out, it's because they're still hoarding all of these things because they don't realize that if they want their company to become more valuable, they technically need to become less valuable to the company through systems, through additional team members, through a lot of different means. But if you are your business and your business is you don't own a business, your business owns you.
Yeah, it's such a lid. I remember a client that I had a few years ago when she came to me. She was doing about $25,000 a year, stationery company, and get this, she was printing and shipping from her home. And I said,
Yeah.
"What are you doing everything?" And so I really had to baby step her into scaling and letting someone else print and letting it be fulfilled. Within a year, she was selling over $1 million worth of product. But she couldn't go higher than 25,000 doing it all herself, and she could not imagine that anyone could do it as well as she was doing it. So it was just, she had no frame of reference for how she can scale. And that's your expertise with Get Scalable. How's that for a book plug? Let's talk about,
Good,
I know,
good.
pretty
Yeah.
good. It's like I do this for
Yeah.
a living or something.
Yeah.
Talk about what entrepreneurs need to be able to scale their business so they're not stuck in the, let me do it all myself and make $25,000 a year.
So every business has an operating system, whether you realize it or not. Because an operating system is simply made up of a set of algorithms, rules, policies, procedures, right? It's made up of a user interface, a dashboard, like what everybody sees. And so these are your metrics dashboards. This is your meetings, what you're bouncing back and forth in Slack when you're talking to your team members or vendors or clients, right? That's the user interface. That's the keyboard and the monitor. And then there's desired outputs, right? What are our goals? So those are the three components. Your algorithms, to use fancy terms, just the rules, the policies, the stuff that you do. There's the what does everybody see and how are we interacting and communicating with one another, and then there's what are we actually outputting. That's every business has that. Every business does that. It's just oftentimes your set of algorithms, to use a fancy phrase, it's all just trapped in your head. You know how to do these things, but nobody else does, right? And so the operating system that you have is what we refer to as a UOS. You are the operating system, and the operating system is you. And again, in the early days, that's fine. It's totally fine. It would be a huge mistake when you're doing, you just made your first 10 sales to go, amazing, I'm God's gift to business. Let's go ahead and hire 25 people. Let's get an enterprise license to Salesforce and to NetSuite. I'm going to get, so both of these extremes are bad. We don't want to do that, but at some point you have to upgrade your operating system. Just like if you got a computer that's 10, 15 years old and you go to try and install the newest software, it won't install. And if it does, it'll probably crash. And you and I are, I think, old enough to, you remember the blue screen of death that used to get on Windows devices?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that when they would seize up, when they would lock up, because it was trying to do more than it could. Literally, Windows devices, this blue screen would pop up, and that was it. It crashed. You had to restart.
R.I.P. Vista.
A lot of entrepreneurs, they're experiencing that blue screen of death because they don't have an upgraded operating system. So that's the thing. Just when we're working with businesses, clients, acquisitions, our own internal startups, it reaches a point where it's like, all right, it's time to upgrade this thing. And it doesn't mean that you're broken or your business is broken. It's time because you won. You did it.
Yeah.
You grew. Yay, new problem. But it's a challenge nonetheless that needs to be solved.
That's great. Give someone just one key tip. What's a first step that they could take if someone has just listened and went, that is me. I'm in that position right now.
The best thing I can tell you to do is two things not to do. And then I'll give you one thing to do. So thing number one, not to do. Don't try to go and document and create checklists and policies and procedures for literally everything that your business does. And I know that there are books out there that will tell you to do that. Some of those books are very good and helpful in their own way. That just is one of those things that sounds like it should work and it doesn't. And I know
no
it.
one ever
I've
looks
lived
at it.
It literally nobody ever looks at it.
Yeah.
You wind up with this binder of checklists that nobody ever looks at. It's a giant waste of time. Don't do that. Also, Don't do what some other books say, which is you need to hire an operator to come in and run your business for you. You're utterly incapable of doing this, so go hire somebody else to run this for you.
Agreed.
Couple of problems with that. Number one, in the early days, you probably can't afford somebody who's actually an operator. So you're going to kind of wind up hiring like an executive assistant and paying them like an operator, but they're sort of just still your executive assistant. We don't want to do that. Also, if you don't have an operating system in place, somebody who actually does know what they're doing, they're going to try to install their own. But if it's not based on what you know, it's going to become this kind of gross monstrosity that isn't actually what, and you're going to get frustrated, they're going to get frustrated, it's not going to work out. Again, ask me how I know. So don't do those things. What I would encourage you to do, and it's a very simple process, it sounds complicated, it's called business process mapping. And what I want you to do is I want you to start by asking the question, how do clients happen? Very simple question, how do they happen? How do they become where we exist? Are you doing Facebook ads, Instagram? Are you purely referrals based still? Are you going out and doing, trade shows or, flea market kind of thing in person? There's some way where people become aware that you exist. Amazing. I want you to get out a pad of sticky notes. I love sticky notes. And I simply want you to write that on a sticky note. Just write down how it happens. Great. That's where it begins. Now, when does this process end? Well, they give me money. They sign a contract. Great. So what's the beginning? What is the end? Write those on sticky notes. And you could put these on a whiteboard. That's what we do. You could use a window because you can do dry erase stuff on Windows if you want to. You can use a big sheet of paper. I don't care. But just give a sticky note at the beginning, sticky note at the end. Go back to the beginning and say, okay, what happens after this one? People see the ad, then what? Well, then they go to this landing page. Okay, we're going to write down landing page. Then what? And you just keep asking the question, then what, and you then what your way from the beginning to the end. When you're done, connect all the little sticky notes with arrows, and what you will have is a visual picture of how customers happen. Now I want you to do the same thing for how you fulfill on your product or service. Okay, the sale is made. Then what? Then what? And go all the way, and here's where your fulfillment process ends. Go all the way until the point where you ask somebody for a testimonial or a referral. Because you won't do that until you know you've actually delivered on the promised value. So I'm giving you your end in both of them. The growth one is going to end when they buy. The fulfillment one's going to end when you ask for the testimonial customer story.
So good. Yes.
Once you've done that, you have a visual map, a picture of the entirety of the customer journey, of how you create value. Now what you can do is go to each one of those little sticky notes and you can say, okay, which of these do I really not want to screw up? Like, which of these are the ones that it's like high stakes game? When I have this sales call, that needs to be scripted. The way that we do the initial onboarding, we need to have that documented. Amazing. Build playbooks and SOPs around only those and only those. We run $10+ million companies, and in all of those, there's maybe a dozen checklists and SOPs that we have. You don't need to document everything, just document the really important stuff. Then go around and say, who does all of these? And when you do that, it's going to break your heart a little bit because you're going to go, me, 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 me. Now, what scale looks like is you giving those sticky notes away to other people. Now you do this, but you don't do it all at once. And you don't try to hire one person to do everything. That's a unicorn. They don't exist. Mm-hmm. You say, this one right here, I super hate this one. And I kind of stink at it. So who would do this? Maybe they're already on your team. Maybe it's a freelancer. But you start handing the sticky notes off one by one. And when you've done that, congratulations, you have a company. Now you can go on vacation for 30 days if you want to. You can also ask, how do we know this is working? Yeah. What are the metrics I should be tracking? That's how we build our scorecards. Now you have meetings around those. So this is how we begin to build out operating systems, but we don't start with our goals. We don't start by documenting everything. We start by visualizing the value creation process. Then you can do all the other stuff.
So good. That was a masterclass on how to get our act together and how to scale. I love it. Okay, are you ready for some fun questions?
Let's do it.
Okay, well, all the questions were fun. It's like some people like talking about sports. I like to talk about business like other people like to talk about sports. Okay, what about Enneagram number?
I forgot what mine is. I'm not a huge Enneagram person. What is the one that So Donald Miller and I, not to name drop,
Yeah.
I was saying this before. He's a good friend of mine, and he
Yeah.
got me into the Enneagram, and I forgot what mine is. What do
Are
you
you?
think I am?
I am terrible at guessing. Like, I'm infamous because I get it wrong. One of my friends, Steph, who is probably listening, at one point said, "Intervention, stop guessing on people because you're terrible." But I think I know yours.
Let's do
I
it.
think you're an achiever, which means you're an Enneagram 3.
Okay, I think that's right. What is 8?
Oh, you could be a challenger.
I think I'm a combo of those two,
Okay.
which I think means I'm like a serial killer.
No, it means you're
Oh.
probably an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I do. I definitely achiever is definitely there, and challenger is there as well.
Yeah,
I think it
there's
was. I think
as
I.
entrepreneurs are lots of 3s, 7s, and 8s, so it
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, we get a
there you
lot
go.
done. Okay, what about a song that you have on repeat lately?
Um, I drive my daughters to school, and so the only thing I listen to is Taylor Swift.
Are
Um,
they so excited about the Super Bowl?
they're excited about the Super Bowl. My daughter's Taylor announced that she's releasing her next album on my daughter's birthday. I am mostly a podcast
Mm-hmm.
nerd, and I listen to books. And I don't listen to a ton of music. When I do, it's usually classical.
Mm-hmm.
Because I use it more to like chill out and think. But what is on repeat right now in my car is basically any and all Taylor Swift.
I
My
love that.
Spotify has no. Spotify thinks I'm a 15-year-old girl.
That means you're a good dad. Oh, I don't even look at my Spotify for the end of the year because it is embarrassing, the
Yeah,
nonsense that all the boys are listening to. Okay, what about a TV or a movie? TV show or a movie?
I'm going back and watching old stuff. I
Hmm.
say old stuff. So my wife and I just went back and binge watched 30 Rock,
Oh, yeah.
which I forgot how hilarious that show was, and Seinfeld, genius. But my
Genius.
go-to, my wife and I, our go-to is British murder mysteries,
Hmm.
like so Poirot, like Agatha
Yeah.
Christie. Any if they have a British accent and somebody dies in the opening scene, we're all in.
John Acuff, which I'm sure you know John. John has a subscription to BritBox because like
Yeah,
that's
same.
his emotional comfort. Oh, you too.
Oh, it's all we like like at night. Like we're just on BritBox and we go through all of them. My wife likes to knit, and so she's always like looking at the sweaters and stuff that they're wearing. If it can be
Yeah.
like Scottish based, then even then it's like, come on,
Sweater game. It's on point.
it's
I
on
love
point.
it. Okay, what about a product that you love and or have told somebody else that they need to get it recently?
I gotta shout out a buddy on this one, but Michael Hyatt's Focus Planner.
Hmm, yeah.
Use it all day, every day. That has been, you know, pretty stinking life changing for me. I use it a little differently though. He's got this calendar feature in it where I think you're supposed to put in what you're going to do that day. I
Hmm.
actually use the calendar feature to keep track of what I did do. So
I like
I
that.
what my all my meetings and things like that are in my Google Calendar, but
Hmm.
I document every single day what I did down to the 30 minute. And a lot of people would think that that is a massive burden. For me, it is the ultimate accountability, personal accountability device. I track my time. Anytime I have a team member who's feeling overwhelmed, or I have a manager who says, "Oh, I think we need to hire people," I'm always like, "Nope, we're going to do a time study. We're going to
Great.
do a time study, and I'm not asking you to do anything that I don't do myself literally every day. Here's a sheet. You're going to track your time in 30-minute intervals, and we're going to see how you're using it." And magically, people are like, "You know what?
Who
I
knew?
found all this time."
Yeah.
You know,
I use Google Calendar, so my days, Monday through Friday, are pretty mapped out, whether it's meetings or time blocking. But I will go in between like 2 and 6 a.m. that day, and then I will document like all the important things that happened that day. So they're there, but they're
yep,
not messing up that day that I had in Google Calendar because I love looking back and seeing what's going. But yeah, a time audit, you can't beat it. What about a
can't beat it.
favorite app? I bet you have a great app recommendation.
I have. I'm doing this Conquer app, which is a walking app that my wife and I are doing together. So you basically pick a walk. So right now we're walking along the Seven Sisters in South England.
Hmm.
So it's this deal, and you don't see it. It's just basically from this point to this point is, let's say, 100 miles, and you have to walk it in X amount of times. And so we're kind of racing each other. And when you reach a certain point, it sends you a postcard. And we went there last
No
year, and so it's
way.
kind of nice. We'll get postcards from these places, like, oh, remember we went there? It's humiliating though, because she's smoking me. She's so far ahead of me, because she's more consistent with her exercising than I am. But right now, that is my favorite app because it's keeping me in a little bit of shape.
That's great. She's probably knitting a sweater while she does it too.
Almost certainly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been so fun. Tell everyone where to find you and tell them why they need Get Scalable.
Yeah, so if you're ready to get scalable, go to getscalable.com. I'll tell you though, I can save you the cost of the book. If you're still in the starting blocks, if you're sub $100,000 a year, maybe even sub 250, just focus on selling some stuff. And so the Scalable Company and the book Get Scalable is for the folks who have reached that point of scale. Our sister company, Digital Marketer, digitalmarketer.com, it's there to help you sell stuff if you're just getting started. So whether you go to getscalable.com and you get the book, or you go to digitalmarketer.com and you figure out how to get started, either way, we'll make sure that we take care of you.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
How great was that? I told you, this is a special one. So helpful, so practical, so full of takeaways. Of course, I'm giving away copies of his book. Take a screenshot while you are listening to the show, tag me and tag Ryan, and you will be entered to win. I'm going to give away 5 copies this week. Okay, let's move on to coaching. Today is all about when to make your first hire. Someone building a side business or working as a solopreneur, building what will one day be a big business for them, this is a really, really important question. Let me tell you what not to do. I was recently working with a new client and we were cleaning up her finances, and we realized she's massively overpaying so many different people for her business, things she didn't really need. And in fact, she was sometimes paying people twice as much as what I felt market rate should be. This happens a lot because we either don't know how to find the right people, or we hear other people, to be successful in business, you have to, staff up really quickly. So women especially end up overpaying massively, not being able to pay themselves, but working themselves to death, right? Running a business. That's what we want to avoid. Businesses in the beginning often financially cripple themselves because of overhiring. So I teach how to hire in detail in the coach school, but today I want to give you this quick rule of thumb. How to know when to hire your first hire. Think about it this way. We're either going to have a lot of time or we're going to have a lot of money. If you have a lot of time, but you don't have a lot of money, go ahead and learn how to do everything yourself. It's going to benefit you in the long run, and just get it done. You do not need to hire. But if you have a lot of money and you don't have any time, that's when you want to hire. Okay? Think about it this way. Time versus money. A lot of time, little money, you better do it yourself. A lot of money, little time, go ahead and bring somebody in. The first hires are doing things that are going to shore up your weaknesses. Think about the things that you're not really good at doing or you don't want to do. If you don't want to do them, you're probably not going to be good at doing them. Hire for that. Hire for your weaknesses. You will never regret having that hiring strategy. Okay, now a recommendation. It's a new show that I'm loving. It's on Apple TV. It's called Silo. It is, you'll be shocked at this, a sci-fi drama in the dystopian future. Something happened to me in 2020 when the world shut down. I really started loving apocalyptic, end of the world, dystopian stuff. I don't know why. I think maybe I would watch it and go, oh, everything there is so terrible and everything here isn't so bad, so I feel better. I don't know what it is. A psychologist would have to figure me out, but I'm a sucker for a good sci-fi drama in the dystopian future. And that's what Silo is. It stars my girl, Rebecca Ferguson, who you may know as the Swedish Nightingale from The Greatest Showman, and the most amazing tough girl from Mission Impossible. I love her so much. So she's the star. Rashida Jones is also in the show. Tim Robbins, David Oyelowo. I mean, just amazing cast. Really, really strong cast. It is phenomenal if that type of show is your cup of tea. The stars are top-notch. The story is great. It's based on best-selling novels, so it has a lot of IP to go on. I'm on episode 3, and I am loving it. Something else I love is that you're here with me. I love that we have this time together every week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making time for yourself. Thank you for improving your life just a little bit every single day. Because what I know to be true is God created you to stand strong and bring something special and something unique to this world that only you can bring. So keep stepping up, keep showing up, and keep loving well. Because you know the truth. You can't break a woman who gets her strength from God. I love to get to coach and equip you every week. I'll be back with you next Monday, and I hope you have a great week. Okay. Oh, I can't say that. um, and cut.